Shalom, brothers and sisters who are scattered in all corners of the earth. Sanbonani, and welcome to this channel. My name is Mpumelelo. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of you who are subscribers to this channel, especially those who subscribed in the past week. You're welcome, Karibu. Thank you for your support, thank you for your love, and thank you for all the contributions that you make. If you have not subscribed, please consider to do so. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, like this video and share it with friends and family. Today, we are talking about something that perhaps is a non-starter to some who are perhaps at a high level of their understanding. They already know this information. But I get a sense from the comments on this channel that we are perhaps not at the same level, which is understandable. Some people are advanced, even advanced more than I am. I'm not advanced, I'm learning, but some people are very advanced. So some people are knowledgeable and they could well be hosting their channels of their own. But some people need more details. And so I have been advised by some brothers and sisters who said I need to pay attention to certain things, I need to be more detailed, I need to demystify some of the things that I'm talking about, because we come from different backgrounds. We have been groomed into believing in certain things, and it is therefore difficult to shake off those beliefs, because those beliefs that we have are set in our minds. They've become truths, some of them. So in the course of time, some of us have become Muslims and some have become Christians. And in very rare instances, some are Buddhists. You know, there are temples here. In South Africa, there's a temple, there's a Chinese temple. And in Malawi, there's also a Chinese temple. They groom young kids in martial arts, but in the process of grooming those kids in martial arts, they teach them Mandarin and they teach them their cultural and religious beliefs. And so it's going to be difficult to learn unlearn such practices, because we've come a long way and we are still swimming in confusion. We disagree. If you listen to all the channels where our brothers and sisters are talking about these topics that we talk about in this channel, we disagree. It tells you that we've come a long way and we have different opinions about many things, influenced most of the time by our backgrounds. But we need to come to a point where at least we have some understanding about where Israel is, for instance, among other things, about what we should believe in. So, what we are tackling today is, to whom was the Tanakh written? If you write a book, you have an audience that you are addressing. It is not always everybody. You have an audience that you want to draw to your attention. And this is the purpose of Tanakh. I wanted to pair this with a similar topic and continue and say, and to whom was the New Testament written? But I thought that it will be an overload. So I'll deal with that other topic some other time, if not after this video. So, to whom was the Tanakh written and why was it written? I think there's a channel, there's a topic that I addressed about, were it not for the Tanakh, would we know who we are? I spoke about it. If you have an interest, I'll put a link in this video about that video. So to whom was it written? And what is the Tanakh about? So the Tanakh, which has been given a name by those who compiled what they call the Bible. They decided that the Tanakh will be called the Old Testament. And because they believe that the Old Testament is revealed in the New Testament, and therefore the New Testament become relevant and the Old becomes irrelevant or of minor importance. But is that true? Why was the Tanakh written, and to whom was it written? To whom does it make sense? To whom is it addressing? Or whom is it addressing? Okay, now, what is the Tanakh? The name Tanakh does not make sense in its own, but it is simply an abbreviation of three words: the Torah, the Nevi'im, and the writings, Ketuvim. In the Torah, we find the 5 books of Moses. In the Nevi'im, it's all the prophets, including Joshua, including the book of Samuel, 1st and 2nd, including Judges. This is opposed to the Christian Bible, which has which has Joshua as a separate books, 1st and 2nd Samuel as separate books, Chronicles separate books. All these, the Chronicles, the Proverbs, the Psalms are Ketuvim, and all other books will be found in the Nevi'im, which is the prophets. When you read the Bereshit, Genesis, the first book of the Bible, you get a sense that it is addressed to all nations, at least the first few chapters, chapter 1 up to chapter 6. Or chapter 1 up to chapter 11. You get a sense that it is addressing all nations of the earth, because it is about the evolution of man from creation, not evolution in the scientific sense, not that from creation men were walking in 4 limbs and then they evolved. No, I'm not talking about that evolution. I'm talking about their relationship with their Creator and how they departed from His presence and became who we have become today. So, man was supposed to live forever. He was not supposed to die. But man sinned against the Almighty, against his Creator. And when man sinned, he opened up a Pandora's box, because the only thing that was spoken by the Almighty, He said, if you open this lid, if you open this lid, you will die. You shall surely die. So out of curiosity, man opened that lid and did not know what was inside it. And sin came to earth, and man fell into sin. Man was expelled from the Garden of Eden, and immediately after that, we see sin spreading like a pandemic. It becomes literally a pandemic. It spreads. If you remember how the coronavirus spread, by merely touching somebody and by merely, with that hand, putting food in your mouth, you've got the virus. That's how quickly it spread. When you looked at the count of how many people were infected per day by this virus, you can see how sin was spreading if you read the first 11 chapters of Genesis. Immediately, the two sons, one son killed the other. Cain kills Abel. After their parents were judged and expelled from the Garden of Eden. And there's a period in which man was sinning just continuously. When you read chapter 4, verse 26, it says Seth was born, and after he was born, he gave birth to his son Enosh. And after Enosh was born, men began to follow after the Almighty. They began to call upon the name of the Almighty. What does this tell you? Before Seth was born, there was evil on earth, wickedness. It is only after Seth is born that men began to call upon the name of the Almighty. Still, in chapter 4, everybody is invited in. Everybody is addressed because we learn about the behavior of man. About this time, in chapter 4, man has what is called the evil inclination. So he is inclined to do evil. He's drawn to evil. So in his presence, there's now good and evil. And man is drawn more towards evil. Not that it is impossible to overcome evil, but if you love evil, if you love wickedness, you become drawn to wickedness. That is why when Enosh was born, Seth taught Enosh in the ways of the Almighty, and men of the generation of Enosh began to call upon the name of the Almighty. Incidentally, when Enosh was born, Adam was still alive. And the generations after Enosh up to Enoch, after Enosh up to Lamech, Adam was still alive. Chapter 5 of Genesis tells us that Lamech, the father of Noah, was 56 years old when Adam died. So Lamech knew Enosh, he knew Methuselah, Methuselah was his father, he knew Enoch or Henoch, he knew all generations up to Adam. And they were taught in the ways of the Almighty. Some chose to follow the ways of the Almighty, some were drawn into this evil inclination. And around that time, when Lamech gave birth to Noah, the evil, the fallen angels began to have intermarriages with women on earth. And this is found in chapter 6. If you read the book of Enoch, you get to find the details of what these fallen angels taught men. And this is very interesting because when you study this, you find that these fallen angels taught men, women and their offsprings, incantations, magical powers, and roots, the studying of roots, whether they are used in a good way or in an evil way. These fallen angels taught their offsprings such things. If you live in the Caribbean, if you live in West Africa, if you live anywhere in the South, or if you live in the area that is known as Sub-Sahara, you will know what these magical powers are. If you're in the Caribbean, you will know what we're talking about when we talk about these magical powers and these incantations. We know what these things are because we live with people who believe in these things, who do these things. It's either we know these stories or we have seen it people doing certain things. People learn to eat blood from animals. We know certain people here who, and people are going to hate me for this, but when people are initiates to become traditional healers, they would stab an animal, usually a goat. The first blood that comes out of that goat, that spills out, they drink it before the goat is slaughtered, before the goat is killed. So while the goat is alive, they grab the goat, suck the blood. This is the kind, and you ask yourself, where did people learn all these things? Where did people learn these magical powers? Because there's witchcraft among our people, and people use lightning to kill others. Whether this is true or not, but we know of these stories. And people use witchcraft to do all sorts of things. So sometimes you wonder, how did people learn these things? But you get to know that some of the descendants of those Nephilim who were born out of the intermarriages between angels and people escaped the floods, and they continued to procreate. Or the art of these powers was then left with our people, and people continue to practice these things. How did then the children of Israel learn about these things? When the children of Israel returned to Canaan, they learned these practices from their neighbors, and they continued these practices until today. So we know that this is real. We can relate to it. Now, the Almighty had to identify people. The scriptures narrows in now. From talking to a wide range of people, the focus narrows to one person, those who are willing to pursue the will of the Almighty. First, it was Noah who was identified, and before him, Seth and his sons, Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech. And after the floods, all those generations had died. It was Noah and his sons. The line of Shem, and in particular Abraham, in the line of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and the 12 sons of Jacob followed. So it means information was passed from one generation to the next, and information was written down. This Tanakh to us is a way of reflecting on our lives. We can relate better to the words that are written in the Tanakh more than anyone else. We know everything that is written there. It is not surprising. It is something that we are familiar with. We came to know that we are the rightful heirs of the promised land. We are the heirs of the covenant, of the promise of the covenant. Why? Because when we read the Tanakh, when we read the book of Deuteronomy, Devarim, when we read the prophets, these books are talking to no one else. No person, no human beings can claim this history but ourselves. We were incarcerated. We were enslaved in chains. No other nation has experienced this. And for generations, we were under oppression. And so we need to arise. We need to be awakened and realize that this is a heritage to us. The Tanakh is something that we must believe in, no matter who tells us what. Over a period of time, of course, we're taught many other things. But the answers to our questions about who we are embedded in this Tanakh. The Tanakh talks to no one else but us, the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the 12 sons of Jacob and their descendants. The Tanakh is addressed to us. We are the chosen people. We were chosen to give light to the world. And I often say, if you do or believe in anything that the world believes in, what light are you going to give or bring to the world? Because the world already knows what you are talking about. When King Leopold wrote a letter to the missionaries, he said to them, do not teach them about the Almighty. They already have that information. They already call him Nzambi. They already called him by their own local languages. If you come to the sub-Saharan region, as the world is confused about the name of the Almighty, that it is full of profanity, that the name of the Almighty has been corrupted by pagans, the purity of the names of the Almighty is used here, is kept here. In our own languages, we call him by his name. And those names are reserved only for him. You will not hear an idol being called Usonini Nanini, Usomandla, Umdali wezulu nomhlaba, uNkulunkulu. No idol is called by those names. Usimagade. No one else is called by those names. So, for anyone to corrupt us, they must bring a doctrine that is different from what we already know. King Leopold said it. Don't teach them about the Almighty. They already know. They already know other things. They already know adultery is wrong. They already know to kill is wrong. They already know to steal is wrong. But teach them about heaven and hell. Teach them that it is good to be in poverty, because then you will inherit heaven. They taught us the stuff that is found in the New Testament, the stuff that is unknown to our forefathers. And we became worse than we were. You look at all the churches that we have, not only the corruption, but the wickedness, the witchcraft that is found in these churches. And tell me if this is where you want to find yourself. Of course, other people say, we know, but what then? Because we are in captivity. What should we do? Now, I want to address this New Testament before we can talk about what we do, what we should do, but not in this video. How did it came about? How did it come about? And what is the relationship? That is going to take quite some time, because people say I need to be as detailed as possible. I need to demystify this. It's going to be detailed, and I'm urging everybody to follow. If it becomes 2 parts or 3 parts, let's make sure we follow. Let's like information. Let's not run away from it. Let's like information. Let's be drawn to information. Let us read. But beyond that, let us discuss among ourselves. We have holy scriptures which were written to no one else. It's like someone writing a love letter addressing it to a particular person. It will only make sense to that person. The Tanakh makes sense to us. It is relevant. It is relevant as it was when it was written the first time. Let's embrace it. It is us. It is the show of love from our Father to the people that He has chosen. And He trusts us that we will repent and we will go out to the world and teach them and give them light. They will choose whether they want to be part of us, among us, or they will choose whether they want to remain where they are. We can only do so much until the Messiah comes and we hope he comes very soon. We continue to search for the truth. Tell me what you think. Thank you very much for your attention. Until next time. Goodbye. Shalom. Ngiyabonga.